to begin, before you can get into any database designing, there needs to be two factors. Number one is you need to be an administrator in your database. If you are the only user, you by default are the administrator. To confirm if you're the administrator in ACT, you can go to the Tools menu, and if Define Fields is an option if it's not grayed out, it means that you are an administrator. You also cannot be in a remote database doing this. You have to be on the main database. So if you're in a sync environment at all, you need to log into the main database, not your remote copy. And then you can go to Tools, and Define Fields should not be grayed out at that point. So that's step one. You want to make sure that this is available to you. If it's not, you'll have to figure out who the administrator is in your company and have them take care of it or have them make you an administrator. The other thing that's going to be important to know is when we actually get into defining the fields, our database is going to be locked. So if you have other users in your database, it's important that they log off before you get into this, or you do this after hours, just to make because otherwise the database is going to prompt you that we need to kick people out. So make sure that there are no other active users in your database, just yourself, and that you're an administrator, and then we'll be able to get in. All right, so we'll go to the Tools menu in ACT as Define Fields. I obviously am an administrator, so I'm going to click there. And once this opens up, in the upper left corner where you see my database name, you'll be able to see that it is locked. If there are users in, it'll give you a prompt screen saying these are the users that are in. You can set off a lock. That'll give them 3 minutes warning for them to get out of ACT, and then it'll kick them out. So if you haven't had a chance to communicate with people, you can have them do that. You can have the database lock it themselves. All right, the Define Fields screen. This is where we are in working in the back end of our database. Just to give you a tour, there's some basic tasks on the left-hand side here. We've got the different entities in ACT we can customize here. And then below, we've got a list of the fields that we are working with. So the examples that I gave are all on the contact screen. I'm not going to get into customizing the other screens, but know that it all functions the same way. So you'll just need to adjust View Fields for and change it to companies or groups or opportunities or products if you want to customize your fields there. But in this case, I'm going to primarily be focusing on contact level customization. So I'll make sure that my contacts is selected here. And I can go through, and again, I can scroll through and get a sense of what fields are already in my database. There are those user fields at the bottom. When you're first getting started, one of the questions is, do I make new fields, or can I just rename user field 1 or user field 2 to do what I need it to do? And when it comes to reporting, there are some complicated reasons why you may want to do one way or another. Basically, renaming a field can make more complicated reports a little bit confusing, but if you're not going to be going down the path of crystal reporting and things like that, if you're just going to be working I'm working in ACT, go ahead and reuse the fields. These are great starting point. Again, I mentioned they give you 10 fields just to sort of get you kicked off, but it'll be nice to have them named appropriately. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to edit a field name and field properties. So I'm going to take user field 1, and I'm going to turn this into my referred by details field from my example before. One thing that I need to think through, one of the properties that you can have in a field is that it can have a drop-down. If you know ahead of time that the field you want to work with has a drop-down, my trick to saving time is to create the drop-down first and then create the field. So in order to do that, before going in and fixing user 1, I'm going to go ahead and actually create a drop-down for referred by details, because it's going to have a different drop-down from the referred by field right now. So before going into user 1, I'm going to go over to my tasks on the left-hand side and go to Manage Drop-Down Lists. So it seems like I'm doing this backwards, but again, it's probably better that I train it this way, just because it's a good practice to be into. If you know that you're going to need a drop-down, create it first, and then go ahead and dig into the field. So I'm going to hit Manage Drop-Down Lists, and it's going to take me to a new section in ACT. This is a list of all of my drop-downs in ACT. You can edit these through here. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But I'm going to get started by making a brand new drop-down. So I'm going to go up here again. Left is the list tasks. I can say Create Drop-Down List. And it gets me to a new screen to be able to customize and create my drop-down. I'm going to give it a name, referred by details. And then I get to select what type. And the type means what type of data is going to be in here. If you've got a drop-down that's going to have dollar amounts, or you have a drop-down that's going to have numbers or decimals, you'll want to select that accordingly. In this case, character reflects kind of any of the above and all. So with character, you can put in whatever you want. It's not going to restrict your formatting in any way. So I'm going to go ahead with a character drop-down. The description is more for me if I want to be able to identify this further. I think the name says it all, so I'm going to skip the description. And then looking at the bottom, I've got a couple of extra options. I can decide whether I want the users to be able to edit the list, and that's an important question to ask. In this example, because referred by details is something that's going to be customized continually as I have new places that my referrals are coming from, I'm going to leave that option enabled. So I'll leave that checked off. I also have another option to automatically add new items to the list. By doing this, it means that anything I type in that field will automatically get added to the list. This is a blessing and a curse. It can save some time because I don't have to edit a list, and I'll have that information moving forward. The problem with it, however, is if I type anything with misspellings, those misspellings get added to my drop-down list. So this can create a little bit of chaos moving forward and making sure your data is consistent and the integrity is there. So more often than not, I uncheck this option. So I'll make, if it's an open drop-down, I'll let people change it, but I won't necessarily automatically add items to the list. Again, I'm a horrible typist. I misspell things, especially when people are watching, so I don't want those typos to be put into my drop-down list. All right. I'm going to hit Next. And this is where I can then go and start to build my drop-down. If I don't add them here, because my drop-down is editable, I can go and add them at another time. But I'm just going to add a couple of people that I know bring me business. Joe Smith is one. Mary Jane is another. And we've got a third. I'm actually doing a marketing campaign through KROQ, and so that's one of the radio stations that we're working with, we're advertising on, whatnot. So I'm going to add them there. So those are just more specifics of how people might be finding them. If I remember more later, I can add them at another time. So all I was doing was hitting the add, typing in the value, and hit add again to add into the next one. With this one, just to note, there's no shortcut key. You can't just hit enter and add a new line. You have to, I just leave my cursor here and type and click, so it keeps a balance there. We're going to revisit drop-downs a little bit later this morning. But if you have more questions and want to get into drop-downs more, we're actually going to be covering that in next week's session. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Finish. So now you can see that my referred by details is a drop-down available. While I'm in this screen, just because I mentioned the address type, I'm going to create a quick drop-down just to show that again for address type. I'm going to go here, address type. And again, I mentioned I can't spell correctly. So address type is in. Again, it's a character. In this case, I'll still allow users to edit, and I'll turn off automatically add. I'm going to say home, office, headquarters, home office, because sometimes it's nice to know where people are working out of. And then we'll add in warehouse. Finish, and now I've got address type as well. So I'm going to let those be my two drop-downs. Again, we're going to talk about drop-down lists more in depth next week, but hopefully this is enough to get you started with customizing your fields. So when you're finished with the drop-downs, we're going to go back home, and this will take us back to our define fields.